Hey guys, it's Şefki here. I'm a freelance 3D character artist from London. I've been asked today to do this video for Texturing.xyz to talk a little bit about me and my journey and how I got started. It's going to include some useful workflow techniques as well as how I use XYZ in my work. But most importantly, it's going to have some useful tips in here for any aspiring 3D artists. So I hope that you guys will find it useful. I hope it can provide a little bit of inspiration for you guys. So thank you for the opportunity and enjoy. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey. At the end of 2016, I was given some software by a family friend. Just before this, I'd graduated from university. I studied maths for 3 years, believe it or not. But as soon as I graduated, I realized that I didn't really want to do anything related to my degree. So I'd spent 3 years not doing much art, and it wasn't very enjoyable. And I knew that at heart I'm an artist, so this software was like a new chance for me to try something different. And I'd spent a lot of time before that trying to sell my work, my traditional artwork, which I found very quickly was very difficult to do. So it wasn't a good place for me, but I think 3D felt like my only hope at the time. So I kept working at it, but I didn't really have an end goal. I didn't actually think it could be my career. I didn't really know what a career in 3D really looked like at the time. Little did I know that 3 years later, I'd still be doing it and I'd be paid for it, which is very, very cool. And hopefully this little video can give you guys inspiration that we all start from somewhere. And if you work hard, you can definitely make something of it. Humans are so accustomed to recognizing what's real and what's fake with a face. And those factors, they all come together. Factors such as specularity or skin detail or subsurface, the eyes, of course, the hair, even the pose, the stare. There's so many things, and sometimes it can be the tiniest thing and the tiniest tweak that you make to your work that can make it go from, uncanny valley, so to speak, and realistic. So, I think that's the thing that drives me with this sort of work. It's like, how far can I take my work? How far can I push it to make it look as convincing as possible? Okay, so I'm going to show a little bit about how I use XYZ in my work. This is a relatively newer method that I'm testing out, but I think it's super useful because it does give you really high quality results. Obviously, that does depend on the UVs. In this case, I've got 5 UDIMs, and I've created a channel, 32-bit EXR channel for the displacement, and this is the XYZ face displacement, which you can take the primary, tertiary, and micro and put them all into their RGB channels. So you get one map, that channel packing, and you find that you get this kind of funny color, which is fine. So in Arnold, they'll be split out again, and you can control them individually. So I crop these because they're large, and it just makes it easier to manage. And then they're just projected on. And then from that, this is not finished. I'm about 70% of the way there. You just right click, export flattened, export all layers flattened. And then if I move it into ZBrush, this is like my sculpted displacement. So again, not finished, but when you are ready to export your displacement out, these are the settings that I use. So 8K, depending on the subdivision level you want to export out. Testing 3, I might do it higher in the final one. Smooth UV, 32-bit EXR, and the mid is at 0. Then you can create all maps. And when you do that, and you bring your model into Maya, then you can click on the XYZ icon. This you get from installing their script, which is on their website. And when you do this, you can keep your current shader, you can pick the mesh, you can tick UDIMs if you've got them, and then float will be your ZBrush, and XYZ will be the one from Mori. And when you pick those, you can choose them, and then you'll find that you're left with this convert luminance, and all of these, and these you can adjust, R being primary, G tertiary, and B micro. These are just values that I've tested so far. They may change. You can see they're very low. And then this is combined with your ZBrush displacement. So the idea is that you obviously want to avoid any inflation. So if you go into the color one of any of RGB, they're all the same, they're all linked to the same thing. You click on the gray color here, you'll find that I'm using an OCIO color space. So if I just quickly remove that, I can show you better. Just remove it here. If you click on it, again, back here, on the gray, you've got rendering and display space. If you click on display space, this should be on 0.5 here. And if it's, I think default is on like, it's a higher value, make sure it's on 0.5. So you've got a mid-gray color, and you'll find that the displacement should sit on the surface of the model perfectly. And then you can adjust values of each map as you go along. As an artist, self-criticism is really important. It's all good asking family and friends what they think of your work, but a lot of people don't understand what 3D is, or what it means, or what it takes to create a 3D artwork. And therefore, most people tell you that it looks great, or it looks good. So it's not too useful. It's obviously nice to hear, but it's not very useful. So the main thing I'd say is, when you've spent time on something, at least like a few weeks or a month, and you're done with it, and you're thinking, right, I want to see what people think. Then I recommend, sharing it to some online 3D communities, and getting some useful critique, some feedback, or sharing it with some artists that you're inspired by, and you admire, and that way you can try and push your next project, and push the realism or the likeness, or whatever it is that you're working on. But references, of course, are really, really important when you're working on any face, whether it's a likeness or it's just a general face. Always have like a pure ref file up with lots and lots of references. For this Jim Carrey piece, I have probably around, I think, over 100 references of him, and a few references of lighting, of different kind of portraits. So always use references. But on the topic of references, when you're sculpting, it's really useful to have scans inside of your scene. I find it really useful. I think it's a good way to understand forms from really, really awkward angles that you can't really capture from a photo. In terms of motivation, and discipline, I think it's really, really important to make sure that you do something you enjoy and that you're passionate about. If you like creatures, work on a creature. If you like cars, model a car. I've only really been drawing portraits all my life. I don't really draw anything else, so I feel like it was a natural thing to make 3D portraits, and I genuinely only really enjoy doing this sort of stuff. I find it really boring if it's not a face. So yeah, work on what you enjoy. And in terms of discipline, again, like, I think it's a difficult thing to talk about, because I think everyone's different in how they discipline themselves. I've always been quite a disciplined person. I think if you're used to studying a lot, like if you've gone to uni and you're used to that routine of being given assignments and working to deadlines, then maybe you have a little bit more discipline, and maybe it's easier to study because you can set yourself deadlines. But I think it's just important just to at least do a little every day. I think that's enough discipline when you're starting out, because I know a lot of people have a lot of responsibilities and busier lives. So if you can do, an hour sculpt each night, then I think it's super useful. Okay, so this year's been pretty cool. I've been working with a company called Sample and Hold, and we've been working on a variety of different projects, some big, some small. I've got some really, really cool projects coming out next year, as well as tutorials and a course as well that I'm really excited about sharing with you guys, about my workflow, because I know I get a lot of people asking me how I do what I do, and I think it'd be cool to share it all, because I'm still learning and I'm still experimenting with different methods. So I'm sure that this time next year, I'll have a totally different way of doing things, and software is always changing and advancing, so maybe things will get more efficient and quicker. And yeah, I'm super stoked about 2020. So thank you guys for listening, and I'll catch you guys soon.